Welcome back to the Solid Rock Personal Training Podcast. I'm Coach D, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is being a role model for your children. So I'm a new dad. My daughter is 16 months old, and I'm expecting a son within the next month. And something that has been important to me as of recently is being a role model for my kids, being someone that my kids want to look up to and setting a good example. And I've had so many parents at Solid Rock in the gym talk to me about like, hey, how do I get my kids more active? How do I get them to work out? And I'm like, man, it's a really good question, because when we force things on people, sometimes they tend to reject it. So today we're going to talk about setting an example. So by being consistent with your working out, showing up to work out, talking about working out at your home is going to set an example for your kids. If you get up to work out in the morning, say it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever that may be, your kids are going to see you leave the house. They're going to see you come back. They're going to see that mom and dad are prioritizing their health and they're making time for it. And it's something that's serious, important to them. If you don't prioritize it, or if you sleep in and hit the snooze button or make excuses for why you didn't want to go work out today, that's going to also send an example to them. So it's one of those things, there's a fine line between it where you do want to have some grace on yourself. I'm not saying don't have grace on yourself, but you are setting the example for your kids. And when you're doing that, you want to talk about enjoying exercise. I think it's really important to enjoy exercise. Sometimes we can get in this rut where we feel like it's a job. And I feel that way a lot of times. Sometimes like I just don't want to work out. I'm like, man, I just got to do this. But that's called discipline. That's doing it when you don't want to do it. Motivation wears off and discipline lasts a long time. So that's extremely important. And then, it's important to make sure we're praising the effort and not the results. So working out and being healthy is all about being consistent and disciplined. And when someone does something consistently or disciplined, we want to praise that effort. We want to reward that. We want to celebrate that. Not that, hey, they lost 20 pounds or they achieved this or they achieved that. That's part of it, and that's fantastic. We want to celebrate that, but we want to praise the effort that someone's putting in. And we want to say, hey, you know what? Gracie, that's my daughter's name. You know what? I'm proud of you. Like, I see that you've been making an effort to prioritize your health and, show up to work out for yourself. So let's praise that, and let's make that a really big part of what we do by being a role model for our children. A fact that I thought was kind of, staggering when I was coming up with this topic for this podcast is that 1 in every 5 kids is obese. And that number is growing every single year. We're seeing obesity go up. We saw it rise significantly this past year with the pandemic. And it should be an eye-opener for, us parents that, hey, now is an extremely important time for us to make sure we set an example, because, that's that next generation coming up. So when we talk about being a role model and we're talking about setting an example, 2 things that really drive this obesity in the case study that I was looking at was fast food and sedentary lifestyles. So we have access to some of the worst food we've ever had access to, and it's continuing to go. Food's becoming more accessible, and the food quality is not as good. So if it's a standard in our house, we'll use Chick-fil-A, for example. I love Jesus Chicken, and Chick-fil-A is a fantastic organization, and it's good. I enjoy it every once in a while. But if it's the rag when we're running out of time, or we don't have time for this or that, we're just going to go get Chick-fil-A, that's setting an example right there, whereas we can be more disciplined and we can probably plan a little further ahead. And then sedentary lifestyle. So, kids go to school, they sit at a desk most of the day. I know a lot of schools have taken out a lot of outside activity and things like that they would do. So making sure we're not setting a sedentary example for our families where we're just sitting inside all weekend long, maybe just Netflix binging, but we're actually going out and we're doing activities. That's going to set an incredible example for your children. Your home environment's extremely important, and the example that you set, that's going to influence your kids. It's going to influence their eating habits, and it's going to influence their exercise habits as well. So when we're talking about this, being a role model for your children, ultimately, it should drive personal accountability to you. You should feel challenged by this. You should accept the challenge. You shouldn't shy away from it. It's up to you as the parent to set the example and to set the tone. So let your kids be an accountability factor for you. So if I want my kids to be healthy and if I want them to see mom or dad do these things, let's pick a workout schedule and let's stick to it. Your kids might not say anything. You might not think it's having any impact, but I promise you that when they get older, it's going to have a significant impact on them. If you're getting up at 5 in the morning to go work out every day and then you're returning home, they're going to be like, yeah, mom and dad are getting up at 5 to go work out. It might not mean anything to them at their younger age, but as they get older, they'll be like, wow, you know what? My mom or my dad set an example. They were disciplined. They didn't sleep in. They didn't hit snooze. They were accountable to themselves, and they showed up and they prioritized their health. When mom or dad are tired, do they just resort to the quick drive-through? Or, hey, did they plan ahead of time? And do we have healthy snacks, healthy things available? How do we eat when we're going on road trips? What is the culture inside of our house from an exercise standpoint and from a nutritional standpoint? And that's going to go a long way in you being a role model for your children. And remember what I said earlier, guys. Have grace on yourselves. We're all in this together. Everyone's learning. No one is perfect. Don't compare yourself to others. That just absolutely robs you of so much joy. But we can all do a better job setting a great example because we're raising up that next generation. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast topic today. If you liked it, please share it, rate a review on whatever platform you're consuming it on, because that would mean the world to us here at Solid Rock Personal Training.